So, like most of my other guests, Allison is a graduate of Kutztown. Or are you still there, or did you graduate? Sorry.
No, I did. I graduated in the
Oh,
spring.
okay, gotcha. Well,
But
before all of this broke, I can't
yes,
even imagine trying to
thankfully.
graduate with all this going on. But so yeah, no, Allison's a Kutztown graduate of the same department that most of the other guests of the show have been from, the Department of Cinema, Television, Media Production. So I guess I will talk about that first. How was your Kutztown experience?
Oh wow, my Kutztown experience was amazing. I didn't start off as a film major. I was like a sports study and leisure major because I was on the basketball team.
Hmm.
But once I always wanted to do the cinema, television, media production, and once I did, I was so happy because we had the best teachers, I think, out
Yeah.
of like any major. They were all very like hands-on and kind of hippies, I like that. Some of them were like really funny,
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
for sure. But I had such a good experience in our field, and I think one of my favorite things that we did was like doing live event for the basketball games
Yeah.
and hockey. Were you in live event like during that, or did you have to do football?
We did the basketball season when I took that
Yeah,
class.
same. What was that one project that we worked on?
We were in lighting together. We had to replicate the shots, or like the lighting
Yeah,
setups of Eyes Wide Shut at my
actually,
suggestion.
I do. I remember that. I remember that. I was like, I know we had to work on like at least. I think we worked on a couple of projects together. To be honest with you,
I think that's the only one, but I wish that we did get the chance to work more often because I
we had a
saw
lot of
your
classes together though.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Because I did see your I forget how I saw. I think it was just on YouTube or something where I was looking up like other people who had gone to Kutztown, but I found your demo reel and a lot of the stuff looked really interesting. So I guess we can use that
Oh,
as
thank
like a.
you.
We'll use that. So like, and again, going off of that, I saw there was a lot of like writing and directing and editing credits that you'd included in there. So, uh, I guess like, what is like the role that you kind of feel most comfortable in? Are you just kind of like I like to do everything, or do you kind of fall into like a couple categories of like being really passionate about doing something?
I definitely feel like I'm a better writer than like cinematographer,
Mm.
and like better director. I definitely love like photography and stuff. I feel like my video work could definitely get a lot better, and my editing videos, like I'm wouldn't say I'm I'm definitely mediocre at editing video, but I'm pretty good at pretty confident with like my photography.
Hmm.
But compared to like an on-set thing, I definitely like to be like a DP, like a director of photography. In school and college, I did write a lot of the things that like I produced like with my groups. Like I usually was the one who like wrote whatever we were going to shoot, which was something that I was like proud of and always kind of like wasn't like aggressive about it, but I always wanted to like put myself out there because I
Hmm.
feel like in our major there wasn't a lot of like girls in our major at all. Like a lot of my classes there would be like 30 people and like three girls. So like my groups would be like and like our teachers would separate all the girls to each group, so it would be like six guys and like one girl, and I felt like a lot of times my ideas were kind of like either like dismissed or kind of like ignored maybe. So it kind of made me get more confident in myself to speak like what roles I wanted to really be on because it got to a point where I was like I either like need to do something or I'm not going to be a part of this project, like like it would just be like me putting in my name on a project that I didn't even work on.
Right.
Like, working with that, like I was able to find out like my niche, which is writing, and I do like acting too. Like the one skit that I did in my last class actually in college, I wrote and I acted in. It was called A Bad Trip, and it was like
Mm.
a horror film, like a short. And I really enjoyed that. That was a lot of fun. Like, was out of my comfort zone and everything, so I got to write and direct it and act in it, and that was something I really loved.
Yeah, and I remember seeing clips from that in that reel that I saw, and it looked really impressive just from the little bits that I got the chance to see. But
Yeah, I definitely like looking back on it, like I said, like I wasn't like I'm not super confident with like my video editing skills. I wish I would have like handed off the editing process to like maybe someone else in the group. I feel like it might have been like they might have been able to like compile it better, and like
mhm.
work with the sound better, but overall I was pretty happy with how it turned out.
Is there any way to watch that one online anywhere? Or?
Yeah, it is. I could definitely like link that to you
Okay,
if
yeah.
you
So
want to put it up.
check out the description if you guys are interested in checking out that short film. I'll definitely drop that in there. Uh, so then I get, but that kind of is one thing that we'll get into a little bit later. What you said about the whole representation issue of there not really being uh, exactly half and half ratio of women versus men in the field that we want to get into. But I guess just a couple more questions that I generally like to ask every guest. So we talked a little bit about like the roles and stuff that you like to be involved with that you feel most confident in. But one thing that I have always found with whenever I watch like an interview with a director or an editor or anyone like that, uh, I think that creative people inherently want to do creative things with their life, but whenever you listen to people who do movies or photography and all that, they talk about, oh well, I've always kind of wanted to do this, but there was one moment or there was one movie that I saw that like really pushed me over the edge and made me believe that I could go out and do what I wanted to do. So I was wondering, do you have a movie or like a moment where it all kind of fell into place for you?
Honestly, when I first thought like, wow, like I want to like work on a movie set was when I first saw Wayne's World. I know that is when I first saw Wayne's World, I was like, I love this because like if you've seen Wayne's World, they show also kind of like it's like they run a show from their house,
Yeah,
you know?
yeah.
I was like, this is totally something like that I would want to do. Like I want to have my own show like with my friends. Like I want to be like a host or like, be like the person who's like 5, 4, 3, 2.
Yeah,
Like I
yeah,
just
yeah.
loved it and I thought it was so awesome. And did you know Wayne's World was actually like directed by a woman?
No, I didn't know that.
I didn't even know that.
That's crazy.
Yeah, I didn't know that for like the longest time. Yeah. And it's so weird that that was like one of the first movies that like I saw that I was like, wow, I could do this. Like I would love to do this.
Mm. Was it kind of like was it just a general like I want to be on a movie set period, or was it just kind of like I mean I really want to direct, or I really want to be like the star, or like what was it like at
I
first?
definitely always wanted to be the star. Like
Mm.
Loki always wanted to like be in front of the camera and like be I don't know, be like an actress and like be really dramatic and like do all of that type of stuff. I loved like I know what also I loved in Wayne's World was like the performances, like with the
Hmm.
girls and stuff. Like I always want to kind of be like in a video, like a music video or something like that.
Gotcha.
So
Yeah.
I want like I definitely like when I was younger, like I first started like, getting interested in movies, I wanted to be like an actress or like a famous actor. But as I got older, I was like, I could like write my own movie.
Mm.
And I started writing a lot. I wrote a lot when I've always loved to write, but writing is something that I definitely like have been into since I was younger and keep on doing it. Script writing, that was
Mm.
awesome.
And it's one of those passions that it doesn't really cost anything to pursue. Like this whole like
Or
industry is kind of like, oh man, you gotta have the nicest camera, you gotta have a really good mics, you gotta be able to go out and find people who are willing to be in your projects and all that. But script writing is really kind of a thing where it's like you can just like tune everything out for 2 hours and pound out something that's been on your mind for a while. It's I find it's very even if you can't necessarily go out and make it right away, I find it's a very fun part of the process.
Oh, for sure. That's my favorite thing. I loved in college. It's something like I miss now because I don't do as much like script writing work as I used to because, I don't have as many projects that are, write your own script or anything. What I
Hmm.
miss most is writing like with multiple people. I
Yeah.
loved that. That was like my favorite thing was like bouncing ideas off of each other and just kind of like letting the story go, like not really like having like a set plan of what it's gonna be, but kind of just letting everyone's idea flow into like like a really like awesome story that comes together at the end. I love that.
Mm. Yeah, no, it's definitely. I kind of wish like my whole college experience was very. I kind of took it the wrong way, if that makes any sense. When I first started out, I kind of looked at it as this whole like, I really want to be a director and I have to outshine everyone else because it's a competition with all these people. But one thing that I kind of realized too late was that the whole environment is super collaborative. I've said it before. It's like not everyone wants to be like the best director. Some people just really want to be a good like sound technician, or some people are just really good at writing, or some people just want to edit someone else's project. So it's the one thing that I would say that I wish that I had learned starting out at college is that to take advantage of that collaborative environment. Because I mean, like you said, it's not really. I mean, it's kind of you can like send stuff to your friends and be like, "Hey, what do you think of this?" But like even a lot of times, like you need someone who has been through this process or like is in this kind of line of work to like really be brutally honest with you about stuff. You know?
Absolutely, because no matter what, like I don't know about your friends, but with my friends, when I would show them stuff that I wrote or anything, they'd be like, "This is awesome! Like you need to make a movie." And then I'll show like someone in class, and they're like, "Oh, like what about this and that?" And it's not like one opinion is like obviously one opinion makes you feel better than the other, but
Mm-hmm.
the opinion that makes you not feel good is the opinion that you need, you know? Because that
Exactly.
like makes you think and I definitely like understand what you mean, like when you went into the major and you're like, oh, I need to like be the best. Because our major, there are some people who, are like competitive about it. And I think it's in like everyone's nature in our major to be competitive because it's such a competitive, like line of work,
Yeah.
um, to work on a big set with like over 50 people and to be the director and like the one that everyone answers to, that's like a big thing. But
Mm-hmm.
I think that's awesome that you kind of like humbled yourself and brought yourself back down to earth, you know?
Yeah. I think that's definitely a necessary part of the process is to just recognize, okay, we're all here to help each other, and
Hmm.
it's gonna it's better to have more friends than not because they can help offer you connections down the road. You're not always going to fall into doing exactly what you want all the time, and I guess just having that network is a really good thing.
Oh, for sure. Like, and having somebody just be like, hey, I wrote this. Can you act in it real quick? And like having someone in the major who is your friend, they get it, like they understand like what went into that. And it's kind of not like a joke. Whereas like if you grab like someone else,
Yeah,
from
yeah,
the major to act in something, they don't really understand the time and everything that went into it. They're not as serious about it or anything. But you're right. You're totally right. In our major, like you need to be connected with everybody because everything's a group project,
yeah.
and that's
Mm-hmm.
kind of what our industry, like the industry, is like, and honestly, any line of work, unless you really are like an independent freelancer and you do everything by yourself, which is I give anybody credit for if they do that, but I don't know any movie or anything that is a one person show,
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, so like I think it's awesome that we're in that type of environment and industry where it's all teamwork. Of course, it's important to have leadership skills, but people are kind of like you're in your job, like you're the leader of that job, like lighting, like if you're setting up, like you got to make sure you set up, correctly on time. If you're breaking down, like you make sure you wrap those wires right, like
Mm-hmm.
simple stuff down to that.
Yeah. Yeah. It is definitely a very collaborative environment, and I mean it's like it is a little bit like it helps to be good at a little bit of everything, but it's like you said, like no great movie was ever made by someone doing everything all the time. I mean, like, you kind of have to open yourself up to collaboration. And I mean, like, and not that's not to say there aren't movies out there where uh, one person doing a lot of jobs is 100% detrimental to the end product. I mean, like Shane Carruth is a guy who he writes, directs, edits. He oftentimes stars in his stuff. He writes the music. I think there's a rumor going around he does the craft services too. But like,
Wow,
I think he's a very big exception to the rule. You need to have that big network of people, and it's always helpful to have people that you can rely on, especially in a field like this.
for sure. And like having connections in this field is everything, I
Hmm.
think.
Yeah.
Um, and it's hard, it's tough.
Hmm. So then I guess the final general question I have that I always ask everybody, since we are a movie centric podcast, is what is your favorite movie or movies in general? Like it
So,
doesn't have to be
okay,
one.
okay, good. Because I know I have like a top five. Can I give you a top five?
Sure. Yeah.
All right. So I'm gonna just say one. This is in no order. Okay,
Okay.
so Goodfellas.
Hmm.
Love Goodfellas by Scorsese.
Hmm.
Ferris Bueller's Day Off. That's a great comedy.
Hmm.
Um, I'll say like a newer movie too. Two newer movies, both starring Leonardo DiCaprio. Wolf of Wall Street.
Hmm.
Love that. Like watched it so many times, even though it's a 3 hour movie.
Yeah.
Um, The Great Gatsby.
Okay.
Um, I love that movie. That's like my favorite. I think that also has to because that's my favorite book.
Hmm.
Um, and also seeing Leonardo DiCaprio, and that's nice too. Um,
He's very much someone who like really easily fits that role.
oh my gosh, totally, totally. And even the Wolf though, Margot Robbie, like she's like I love her, even though Leonardo DiCaprio's in that too. But
Hmm.
Margot Robbie, that's like everything.
Yeah.
That was
Anything that
why,
she's in, she like instantly elevates it, I find.
oh my gosh, seriously, she's like a force of a woman. I love her.
Hmm.
And I'm gonna say Tommy Boy.
Oh, that's a good one. I
Yeah,
like that one a lot.
that's definitely one of my favorites.
I'm
That didn't deserve to be the fifth named one, but whatever.
no, it's yeah, it's
That
that's
was in no order. That was in no order, so it's fine.
so those are like your go-to like you could be in any sort of mood and you can put on any one of those movies and you'll be
Oh yeah, like
instantly happy.
I could watch Tommy Boy every single day. I could fall asleep watch. I used to fall asleep watching Ferris Bueller's Day Off.
That's a good one to fall
But,
asleep to.
yeah,
I,
I still am, but I love like when there's just random like sung in music. Like I don't like I obviously like I love like Grease and Hairspray, both of those.
yeah.
Grease was a big movie, is a big movie for me too. I love Grease.
Hmm.
Um but yeah, I just love like kind of mixing like that theatrical presence in the movie. It's like out of nowhere. Sometimes it doesn't work with the movies. Sometimes, it
Yeah.
ruins it. Um but I love it. I don't know.
Yeah.
It's like a corny thing that I love.
Yeah, I'm surprised more people don't talk about Tommy Boy really. Like when they talk about like their favorite comedies from like the 80s or 90s, it's always like Jim Carrey or Robin Williams, but there's no one ever really. I mean, Chris Farley, I think he's a genius, but like no one ever really talks about that movie for some reason. I really like
Um,
that one.
I think that movie is like very underrated. I think what it really like, breaks my heart like with Chris Farley because he died like so young and everything.
Hmm.
And I think that's a big reason why his movies aren't really talked about a lot because he did, he left his legacy to the people that know it, but Jim Carrey and like Robin Williams, like I mean, Robin Williams is, died like later on in his life,
Yeah.
but, and Jim Carrey's still kicking, and
Hmm.
still the best man ever.
I'm still doing Sonic the Hedgehog.
Yeah, like he's up to something, and he's like tweeting. Do you follow him on Twitter?
Yeah, but I don't watch him. That I know all of his like political cartoons and stuff that he does, and those are pretty funny.
Okay.
But I
Yeah,
don't read a lot of his tweets.
yeah. I don't really read his tweets, but I do watch. I mean, I do like look at the cartoons that he does
Yeah.
because they're really awesome.
Hmm. Apparently, that's like his big like pastime. Is he also does like painting? I think he might have stuff in like museums and stuff, which is like really weird.
Really?
Yeah. There was a short, I forget what it's called, but it's like maybe like 10 minutes long on YouTube.
Oh, you have to link that. I
Yeah,
would
yeah,
love to.
yeah. I'll put that in the description. It's called like Jim Carrey, I Need Color or something like that, where it's just
Mhm.
talking about like how he got into painting, and like it shows like his like home studio where like the whole thing is like covered in just like splotches of paint. There's like canvases on top of each other. It's pretty crazy. It's a lot of him talking
Wow.
like, are you familiar with that documentary? It was on Netflix. Where he was talking about the Man on the Moon, the one comedy he did where he says that he like blacked out, and it was like a biopic about this like famous comedian, and he said that like
Oh,
throughout
Andy
Andy Kaufman,
Warhol?
yeah,
Andy Kaufman. Yes, I love that. I love that.
the movie
That
or the
says a lot about
documentary.
him. What'd you say?
The Are you talking about the Man on the Moon or the documentary that was
The
on?
documentary with Jim
Okay,
Carrey. The
yeah,
documentary with Jim Carrey. Yeah, I watched that. I loved it, and it made
mm-hmm.
me like learn so much about Jim Carrey. I feel like if I could spend time with any actor, all right, besides Steve Carell, that's different. That's a whole different story. Actually, no, Jim Carrey definitely above Steve Carell. I'm just gonna put that into the universe. But I would
Okay,
love to sit down with Jim Carrey. And after seeing that Andy Kaufman, that
mm-hmm.
was insane. But
Yeah.
he's like that. That's why he's so good, you know? Like he really gets into his role.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but
Uh,
like what I was gonna say was the painting thing is a lot of like that same kind of philosophy where he talks about like the universe and like the our greater like scheme in it and like the philosophy of
yeah,
like life and being it's pretty interesting. I thought I'll definitely put that in the
please link it to me.
yeah, I'll send it to you when we're done. But yeah, that's I think it's like 10 minutes. So anyone who's watching this interested in Jim Carrey, you have no excuse not to go watch it. It's right there on YouTube. But